Why do some people walk through life as if nothing affects them, while others seem to be magnets for narcissists, manipulators, emotional vampires? You might think it's just bad luck, or that being a kind, sensitive person is somehow the problem. But what if the issue isn't your kindness, but what you're refusing to see in yourself? There's something Carl Jung said that still shakes people because it feels like a slap and a liberation at the same time. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This video isn't about blaming the victim or turning you into someone cold. It's about becoming whole. Because once you integrate your shadow, once you stop rejecting the darker, messier, more aggressive parts of yourself, you stop attracting people who feed on your weakness. I know someone who went through this, and maybe this sounds familiar. She was always the nicest person in the room. Too nice. She'd agree to anything, help everyone, never complain. And somehow, without fail, she'd end up surrounded by friends who mistreated her, boyfriends who used her, even family members who took advantage of her patience. For years, she thought it was a curse, until her therapist told her something brutal. You've never said no in your life. You don't know how to show your teeth, so other people do it for you. That sentence landed like a shock, but it changed everything, because the moment she recognized that she had anger, and that anger was not evil, just real, she stopped being prey. She didn't have to become cruel. She just had to become complete. That is exactly what Jung meant by the shadow. The shadow is everything in you that you deny, repress, shove down, because it's not nice, not spiritual, not acceptable. But what you push down doesn't disappear. It gets projected. So when you suppress your aggression, somebody else arrives with aggression and dominates you. When you suppress your capacity to say no, someone appears who keeps demanding until you collapse. And yes, that makes you feel like a victim, but it's also a mirror. The goal here isn't to shame you, it's to wake you up, because once you make that darkness conscious, once you reclaim those parts of you, something extraordinary happens. Toxic people start to sense a different kind of energy from you. They don't see prey, they see someone who's whole, and they move on. The myth of Persephone explains this perfectly. She was this innocent girl picking flowers in a field when Hades, god of the underworld, kidnapped her and dragged her below. But the story doesn't end with her as a victim. As she spends time in the underworld, she transforms. She becomes queen. Half the year she returns to the light, half she rules the dark. That's a metaphor for integration. She's not just light or just dark. She's both. And in that wholeness, she is untouchable. You can't kidnap a queen. So let's break this down clearly. Why are toxic people drawn to you? First, because you haven't integrated your boundaries. You're still trying to be nice instead of being real. You smile when you're angry. You say yes when you mean hell no. That smile becomes a signal for predators. Second, because the parts of you that you suppress attract people who embody them. Jung called this projection. You despise conflict. Someone shows up and brings conflict. You won't express anger. Someone shows up angry at you. It's not spiritual, it's psychological law. Third, because you believe being pure, kind, innocent will protect you. That's a lie. Wolves don't spare sheep because they're sweet. The world doesn't respect the people who don't respect themselves. Now here's the good news. You don't have to become toxic to stop attracting toxicity. You just have to become conscious of your shadow, which means allowing yourself to feel anger, desire, fear, pride, selfishness, without letting it control you, but without pretending it's not there. When you can say, yes, I have a dark side, I can be dangerous if I need to. That's not evil. That's actual safety. Because then no narcissist can smell weakness on you. Robert Johnson, a Jungian analyst, wrote an entire book on this called Owning Your Own Shadow. And in it, he says, to refuse the shadow is to become it in a distorted form. That's exactly what happens to people who suppress everything. Eventually, they explode. or they break, or they attract broken people over and over until they look in the mirror and face themselves. So what are the steps? I want to give you something practical, not just theory. 3 real things you can start doing. Number 1, notice where in your life you're saying yes, just to maintain peace. Write it down. Then practice saying no in small ways. It starts trivial. No, I can't hang out tonight. No, I don't want to lend you money. But that small no already starts integrating the shadow because you're giving space to your own will. Number 2, express anger in private first. Punch a pillow. Write out everything you'd say to someone if you weren't scared. You're not becoming violent. You're giving your aggression a voice that's yours. Once you own that aggression, you don't leak it unconsciously. You don't attract people who use aggression against you because now you own it. Number 3, realize that being whole is more important than being liked. This is the hardest one because many of us would rather be accepted than powerful. But as Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That means some people will leave. Let them walk away from the new version of you. The people who stay or arrive will see your boundaries as a sign of respect, not a threat. As I speak, maybe you're thinking, this sounds good, but I don't know if I have the strength. Trust me, you do. You've already survived every experience that shaped you. The shadow isn't an enemy. It's a part of your strength you left behind. Once you retrieve it, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. I want you to imagine a scene. 2 people are walking down the street. One looks fragile, apologetic, avoiding eye contact. The other walks with a calm, grounded presence. Same street. One gets harassed, one doesn't. The difference isn't luck, it's energy. One has no inner warrior, the other does. And you can feel it even without words. At the end of Jung's life, someone asked him if he felt he had conquered his demons. He said, "No, but I've learned to live with them, and they've become my allies." That's real integration. You don't defeat the shadow, you make peace with it. And the moment you do, you stop bleeding energy. Toxic people stop locking onto you because you're no longer a fragmented person they can feed off. This is why some people who look so gentle are also incredibly respected. You can feel that they have a backbone. There's a quiet force in them, as if they're saying without words, I can be kind, but I'm not harmless. That is the goal. So if you've been wondering your whole life, why me? Maybe the better question is, what have I been hiding from myself? Because once you see it, once you stop trying to be pure and instead decide to be whole, everything changes. Integration is liberation, and the moment you do it, you become psychologically invisible to emotional predators. You become someone they avoid because you feel like a mirror, and predators don't want to see themselves. So here's the truth you may need to hear. Healing doesn't make you softer, it makes you stronger. Integration isn't a spiritual decoration, it's a psychological survival mechanism. You stop attracting darkness when you stop pretending you don't have any. And from that moment on, you move through life with a different kind of silence, a groundedness that speaks louder than any defense mechanism. You become someone who no longer fears manipulation because you can see it and name it. That is the real freedom, not walking away from your shadow, but walking alongside it as a whole sovereign human being.